Why staying in the victim mindset will keep you poor. Have you ever felt like the world is just not on your side? Like no matter what you do, you can't seem to catch a break, and life keeps throwing obstacles in your path? It can feel overwhelming, as if you're stuck in a repetitive cycle that you just can't break free from. You see others moving forward, achieving success, while you're left behind, wondering why things aren't working out for you. It's a frustrating experience, isn't it? But here's the thing that most of us don't realize often. The limitations we feel are not entirely external. Much of the struggle comes from within our own minds, our own beliefs. We build a mental cage, and the bars of that cage are often made of the stories we tell ourselves about why we can't succeed. One of the most dangerous stories we tell ourselves is the one that says, "I'm a victim." When we adopt a victim mindset, it's as if we're saying, "Life is happening to me, and I have no control over it." It's a seductive mindset because it offers a sense of comfort. It gives us a reason, a justification for why things aren't going our way. It tells us that the problem isn't with us, but with the world. And that can feel like a relief in the short term. But in the long run, this mindset is incredibly damaging because it keeps us trapped in that mental cage. We end up waiting for something outside of ourselves to change, waiting for circumstances to improve, for people to treat us differently, for life to become fairer. But here's the hard truth: when you choose to live in a victim mindset, you're giving away your power. You're handing over control of your life to external forces, whether it's other people, the economy, or even the circumstances you were born into. And while it's true that many things in life are beyond our control, the decision to give up our own agency is entirely within our control. The victim mindset convinces us that we are powerless, but it's this very belief that ensures we remain stuck. Let's break this down logically. When you believe you're a victim, you reinforce a psychological loop known as learned helplessness. This concept, first explored in psychological studies, describes a situation where, after experiencing repeated setbacks or failures, people begin to feel like they can't change their situation no matter what they do. Eventually, they stop trying altogether. They give up before they even start because they've been conditioned to believe that their efforts are futile. But here's the catch: the more you believe that you can't change anything, the more your actions or inactions make that belief a reality. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Think about it. If you're convinced that the system is rigged against you, why would you bother trying to succeed? Why would you put in the effort to change when you've already decided that it's impossible? And here's the trap: by not trying, you guarantee that nothing will change. The victim mindset tells you that you're stuck because of external forces, but in reality, you're stuck because you've stopped taking action. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on this. Where in your life are you letting yourself believe that you have no control? Look closely. Is it in your career, your relationships, your financial situation? What are the stories you're telling yourself about why you're stuck? Are you saying things like, "I can't get ahead because I wasn't born into a wealthy family," or "It's impossible for me to succeed because the economy is bad"? We all have these stories, but we rarely question them. These narratives shape our actions or lack thereof and keep us confined in that mental cage. The mind is incredibly powerful. It can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And when you adopt a victim mindset, it's as if you're placing a lock on your own potential. You're closing yourself off to opportunities before they even have a chance to present themselves because you've already decided that those opportunities are out of reach. But what if you were willing to challenge those beliefs? What if you could break free from the victim mindset and start seeing your life through a different lens? What if, instead of focusing on the things you can't control, you focused on the things you can control? Here's the truth: while we may not be able to control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we respond. And it's in that response that our true power lies. The victim mindset wants you to believe that you're at the mercy of external events, but the reality is that your internal state, how you think, how you react, how you choose to move forward, is far more important than any outside force. It's easy to blame your circumstances. It's easy to say that you're stuck because of external factors. But what if the very thing that feels like a burden, taking responsibility for your life, was actually the key to freedom? What if, instead of waiting for the world to change, you decided to change yourself? Let me ask you again, where in your life are you giving up your power? Where are you telling yourself that you're stuck, when in reality you have more control than you think? The first step to breaking free from the victim mindset is recognizing that you have a choice. You can continue to believe that the world is against you, or you can choose to believe that, while the world may be challenging, you have the ability to rise above those challenges. The choice is yours. Will you stay in the cage of limitation, or will you take the first step toward unlocking your true potential? The illusion of external control. Let's explore one of the most compelling reasons why the victim mindset keeps us poor, not just financially, but in every sense of the word. It convinces us that our problems are always caused by something outside of our control. It tells us that the reason we're stuck is because of external forces, whether it's the economy, our upbringing, other people, or even bad luck. The victim mindset loves to place blame on anything and everything except ourselves. And yes, there are certainly external factors that influence our lives. We're not denying that. But here's a deeper, more philosophical truth that we often miss: the world is not obligated to be fair. And it certainly isn't obligated to make things easy for us. Now, this is a hard truth to swallow. It's uncomfortable to admit that life doesn't owe us anything. We want to believe that if we work hard, if we're good people, if we do everything right, then life should reward us with success, happiness, and financial security. But here's the thing: fairness is subjective. What seems fair to one person might seem unfair to another. And the more we chase this idea of fairness, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. The victim mindset thrives on the belief that if only the world were fair, we would be successful. It tells us that the reason we're not where we want to be is because something or someone is holding us back. Maybe it's the government, maybe it's our family, maybe it's society. But if we step back and really think about it, this belief is flawed at its core. Because the truth is, the world doesn't reward entitlement. It rewards action. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have achieved great things. Are they the ones who sat around waiting for the world to treat them fairly? Or are they the ones who took action despite the unfairness of life? If you look at the most successful people throughout history, you'll notice that they all share one thing in common: they didn't wait for external conditions to be perfect. They didn't wait for life to be fair. They understood that the only thing they truly had control over was their own actions. This brings us to a profound philosophical insight: control does not lie in what happens to us, control lies in how we respond. The victim mindset tells us that we are powerless because external forces are controlling our lives. But the empowered mindset tells us that while we may not control the events that happen to us, we always control how we react to those events. And it is in that reaction where our real power lies. Let me ask you something: what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for the world to change and instead focused on changing yourself? Take a moment to really think about that. Most of us spend our lives waiting. We wait for things to get better. We wait for people to give us what we think we deserve. We wait for the right opportunity to come along. But here's a fundamental truth: waiting keeps you stuck. It keeps you in a state of passivity, where you're relying on external forces to improve your situation. But the truth is, your circumstances don't change until you change. This isn't some magical concept. It's simple cause and effect. When you shift your mindset from seeing yourself as a victim to seeing yourself as someone who can create change, you start to act differently. You start to take responsibility for your life. You start to look for solutions instead of focusing on the problems. You begin to take risks because you believe that you have the ability to handle whatever comes your way. Here's the powerful part: when you change your actions, the world starts to respond to you differently. It's as if doors that were once closed begin to open, not because the world suddenly became fair, but because you started looking for the keys. You stopped waiting for someone to rescue you, and you became your own rescuer. But this shift in mindset requires something that most people find difficult: responsibility. Taking responsibility for your life can be terrifying because it means you can no longer blame anyone else for where you are. It means that if you're not where you want to be, it's up to you to change that. But here's the paradox: the more responsibility you take, the more control you have over your life. And the more control you have, the richer your life becomes, not just in terms of money, but in terms of freedom, fulfillment, and purpose. Responsibility is not about blame. It's not about saying that everything that has gone wrong in your life is your fault. It's about recognizing that, no matter what happens, you always have the power to choose your response. And that choice is where your true freedom lies. So, I want to leave you with a question: where in your life are you waiting for external forces to change, when you could be taking responsibility and creating the change yourself? You have far more power than you realize. And the sooner you stop looking for something outside of yourself to make your life better and start looking within, the sooner you will break free from the victim mindset. You'll realize that the world may never be fair, but that's okay, because fairness was never the key to your success. Your mindset is. The power of responsibility. Here's a radical idea: what if you're 100% responsible for your life? I know that sounds extreme. After all, there are plenty of things outside of our control. We can't choose where we were born. We can't choose the family we were raised in. We can't control every event that happens to us. But here's the philosophical twist: responsibility isn't about blame, it's about power. When I say you're 100% responsible for your life, I'm not saying that everything is your fault. I'm saying that everything is your opportunity. When you take responsibility, you're not accepting blame for things that are outside of your control. You're claiming the power to respond to them in a way that serves you. And that's the key distinction. The victim's mindset says, "This happened to me, and therefore I'm stuck." The empowered mindset says, "This happened, but I get to choose what I do next." Think about the most successful people you know or admire. Are they the ones who sit around complaining about how unfair life is? Or are they the ones who take action regardless of their circumstances? The truth is, every successful person I've ever met has one thing in common: they take extreme ownership of their life. They don't waste time blaming others because they understand that blame is a distraction. It's a way of avoiding the real work of taking control of their own destiny. But responsibility is scary, isn't it? It's much easier to point the finger at someone else. It's much easier to say, "It's not my fault." But here's the paradox: the more you avoid responsibility, the less control you have over your life. And the less control you have, the poorer you become, not just financially, but in every aspect of your existence. So, Here's another deep question for you. Where in your life are you avoiding responsibility? Where are you telling yourself that it's someone else's fault when deep down you know you could do something about it? Breaking free from the victim mindset, let's bring everything full circle. The victim mindset is a trap, a mental prison that keeps you poor because it convinces you that you have no power. But the truth is, you have far more power than you realize. The key to breaking free from this mindset is to shift your focus from what you can't control to what you can. And here's the powerful part: once you start taking responsibility for your life, everything changes. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You start to believe in your own ability to make things happen. You stop waiting for the world to change, and instead, you become the change. But this isn't just about thinking positive. It's about taking action. It's about recognizing that, while you may not control the world, you control yourself. And that's enough. That's more than enough. So, what do you do from here? How do you start shifting out of the victim mindset? The first step is simple but profound. Start where you are. Look at your life and ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve my situation? Even if it's something small, even if it feels insignificant. The point is to start taking action, no matter how small, because action is the antidote to victimhood. And as you take action, something amazing happens. You start to build momentum. You start to see that you're not as helpless as you once thought. You start to realize that, while you may not control the outcome, you always control the effort. And that's where your real power lies. So, I'll leave you with this final question: are you ready to take responsibility for your life? Because if you are, the world is waiting for you. All you have to do is step forward.